The Jolly Pirate. Getting your hands set up in the proper starting position is very important. So take a look at treble clef and your right hand. It begins with finger number 1, and the 1 is over top of the note middle C. So we'll get our thumb finger 1 ready on middle C. In bass clef, we're starting with finger number 5, and this is a line note, and our lines go G, B, D, F, A, and so that's an F. That F is the F that's just below middle C, so it's going to be right here with finger 5. Let's work on the first phrase. We're going to be counting, and I'll play it through one time first. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when we're counting and playing, we're keeping a very good steady tempo, and we're holding our half notes just the right amount of time. Something we want to be careful about is that as we move from hand to hand, back and forth between our right hand and left hand, we want to make sure that we keep a legato sound. So, for example, if I play measure 1 and then the first middle C in measure 2, like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You can hear how the notes are smoothly connected one to the other. If I don't play legato, it would sound like this. You hear that little separation in between the notes? We don't want that to happen. Here's the first phrase, one more time. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel free to stop the recording here to practice, or go back to the beginning, maybe at a slower speed, to practice this some more. When you're ready, we're going to go on now to the second phrase. This is the second strain of music. It starts at measure 5. You'll see the number 5 in a box over top of that measure. This strain of music begins exactly the same way as the first strain. Notice that the first 2 measures of the song and then measure 5 and 6 are exactly the same. But this phrase ends a little bit differently, and we call that a variation. So it's not repetition, it's not exactly the same phrase, it's similar, it has a slightly different ending, so it's a variation. Here we go, starting from measure 5. Ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe you noticed as I got to the end of that phrase, I made a crescendo. And crescendo means to get gradually louder. As the notes rise this direction, as they get higher on the keyboard, we generally will make a crescendo. We'll get a little louder. Here's that second phrase again. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. Well, feel free to stop the video and practice that second phrase several times, or go back and slow down the video and listen through it again. I'm going to play next the first 2 phrases, one right after the other, just like it goes in the music. So this is going to be from the beginning, measure 1, all the way to the end of the second line of music to measure 8. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice I went a little faster because if you've practiced your first phrase several times and your second phrase several times till they're both flowing really well, you should be able to go a little faster, a quicker tempo we call that. Feel free to stop the video here and work on those two phrases before going on. Next, we're going to look at the third strain of music. This is measures 9 through 12. Now this one has a different sort of idea than the beginning phrases. We're going to start with finger 2 in our right hand. If you take a look at that starting note, that's D, and it's in the treble clef. It's right next door to middle C, and you'll see middle C is our next note. These are next door neighbor keys. Sometimes we'll call that a step or a second. In our left hand, our starting note in this phrase is that B flat. So here's our B, and when we go down a half step, we go down to the very next key lower. That makes it flat. So for this phrase, we're prepared with second finger here on D, and our left hand second finger here on B flat. Here we go. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's a little bit of a pattern. In the first two measures, we play this in our right hand. Ready? Play. 1, 2, rest. 4, 1, 2, rest. And the next two measures are exactly the same music in our right hand. Take a look at the next two measures. Here we go. Ready? Play. 1, 2, rest. 4, 1, 2, rest. What changes is our left hand. In the first two measures, our left hand is playing this B flat. In the next two measures, our left hand moves down with finger 3 to A. Other than that, it's the same. So we could call measure 9 and 10, that's one musical idea or motive. And then 11 and 12 is a little variation on that. All that's changed is our left hand note. Here's measures 9 through 12, one more time. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel free to stop the video and back up to the beginning of where measure 9 lesson begins, playing through that several times until you feel very comfortable and it flows well. Then let's go on. Measure 13 to the end. If you'll notice, measure 13 begins exactly the same way as measure 9, but it ends a little bit differently. And then the last two measures are brand new kind of music, and that's a brand new something that's happening. So first we're just going to take a look at measure 13 and 14. Here they are. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, we have that new note there. Finger 5 is playing that G at the end. Here's 13 and 14 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can feel free to stop right here and practice that. The next thing is we're going to go over measure 13, starting at 13 again, all the way till the end. We want to notice at the very last measure, our left hand is playing two staccato notes. That little dot over top of your note head means staccato, to play those short. So those are not going to be legato. Really hear how that goes when we get there. Here we go from measure 13. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you hear how we were playing hands together there for a moment? That can be just a little bit tricky, so I'm going to play that for you again. Here we go, measure 13. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Together. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One last thing we want to pay attention to in this line of music is that in the last measure, When we play that F, our left hand is resting, so we want to make sure that we've gotten off of that B flat and are resting to play 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes what can happen is this. Here's the last two measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Uh-oh, you see how I'm still holding on to that B flat? I was supposed to lift up when I got there. So let's make sure that we're lifting our left hand up for that rest. Here's the last two measures again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you saw then how the left hand lifted up for that rest. Here's all of measure 13 all the way to the end. One final time. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Rest. Very good. Now I'm going to play this song one time from the beginning to the end, and I'm going to play it a little bit quicker than our practice tempo we've been working at. The final tempo should be even faster than what we have on this recording here. So here we go from the beginning. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wonderful. Well, do a good job practicing by working in small sections with repetitions, then larger sections with repetitions. Pay attention to your legato, the rests, the staccatos at the end, and notice the dynamics. Dynamics are the louds and the softs, how I changed from sometimes being loud and had a crescendo to get louder, how there was a place where I got a little bit softer for a little bit. Listen back to where those are and do that in your music too. Thank you.